Yeah, welcome back to Newsmax. Now, North Korea says it has no intention to return what they're calling sickening negotiations with the U.S. Nuclear disarmament talks broke down over the weekend. And North Korea's foreign minister now says any suggestion of a deal with the U.S. would be more about optics in President Trump's reelection than satisfying any of North Korea's actual demands. Pyongyang's chief negotiator told reporters, quote, "Whether or not there are further talks will depend on the U.S. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council is set to meet tomorrow over recent missile launches and more violence in Hong Kong over the weekend. New protests have been sparked by a ban on face masks as the city breaks down. Will Beijing step in? That brings us to tonight's Flashpoint. And for more on this, let's welcome in Gordon Chang, columnist and author of Nuclear Showdown. Gordon's with us now on the phone. Gordon, great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, John.
Well, Gordon, you look at the situation in Hong Kong. Let's talk about that. Their chief executive, Carrie Lam, enacted a ban on face masks last week using colonial-era emergency powers, which sparked more protests over the weekend. The entire subway system was shut down, and a driver mowed down a group of protesters. This continues to escalate. What's your take on where things stand right now?
Well, right now, the chief executive, Carrie Lam, has inflamed the situation. What she has done by Friday's declaration of a ban on face masks is she's angered the broad mass of people in Hong Kong, not just the 2,000 or so young protesters dressed in black. She was never going to win them. But what she has done is she's increased their support among the general population. And so we've seen these big demonstrations of middle-class Chinese, both sides of the harbor, very much in defiance of Carrie Lam.
We've seen one supporter of the Hong Kong protests apparently was the Houston Rockets general manager, Daryl Morley. Morley tweeted Friday night, quote, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong," which has since been deleted, and prompted an apology by the NBA, calling Morley's tweet regrettable and is insisting that the league has great respect for the history and culture of China. So the NBA is being roundly criticized for this, Gordon. Chuck Schumer calling the NBA's response unacceptable, Marco Rubio calling it disgusting and grotesque, and Senator Rick Scott says it's clear that the NBA is more interested in money than human rights. I think that's something we can all agree on here, right, Gordon?
Well, certainly. And you know, you look at the response of the NBA and the Houston Rockets, it is absolutely despicable. But you got to remember, this business is business. It's not up to any business to define the U.S. national security interests or to implement U.S. policy. What it is up to is President Trump. And clearly what we need to do is to get U.S. business out of harm's way, because Beijing is going to try to weaponize American business against American interests. It did this with Cathay Pacific. It fired off the top management of the airline, largely because of, again, Hong Kong protests. And they will do that to U.S. businesses as well. So it's up to President Trump to make sure that we get our businesses in a position where Beijing cannot enforce obedience on them.
Yeah, we see this not just with the NBA, but we see this with clothing brands as well. Some brands have put a map that even had the audacity to label Taiwan, which obviously the Chinese don't like. They definitely want to have an influence over American businesses, and this is the latest example. It's disgusting to see. Gordon Chang, thank you for your time. Great to talk to you.
Thanks, John.
All right, we want to remind everybody, too, to check out Gordon's new Newsmax.com column right now. Gordon explains why impeaching President Trump could actually help China.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems, or go to NewsmaxTV.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.